Okay, so Dr. Ammons, before we begin, begin asking you the questions. I would like you to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Paula Hammonds. I am a school psychologist for the Palm Beach County School District.
Okay. I'm so glad that you could make the time to spend with me, Dr. Ammons.
Not a problem.
Okay, my first question is explain your role as a member of the special education team.
Okay. This past year was my first year in Florida. I retired from the state of New Jersey.
Oh,
So
welcome.
in Florida, I do mostly psychoeducational assessments at an elementary school level. I have not worked in middle school or high school in Florida, but I did when I was in New Jersey.
Okay.
Next year, it's my understanding that I am going to have one K through 5 school and one middle school. So I'll be able to work at the middle school level again.
Okay.
At Seminole Trails Elementary, they have a very high referral rate, and they are an autism cluster school.
Right.
So they're very heavy on the assessment piece. But I also do reevaluations there. I assist with crises, and I attend the annual review meetings. If there's any question by the parent, I attend the reevaluation meetings and the initial IEP meeting. I don't write the IEP in Florida. That's done by the ESE coordinator. But in the state of New Jersey, I wrote the IEPs. Some states require their school psychologists to write IEPs, and some don't. I've worked in New Jersey, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
So it differs
you have a
by state.
You have a vast experience. So, seeing that
I do, yes.
Seeing you work in these different states, do you see any differences between the IEPs?
The differences between the IEPs aren't as big as they used to be. I found that in New Jersey there are more available services for students than there are in Florida, and certainly more than there were in Louisiana. So I think part of it depends on the funding from the state and local governments and how much money people have to work with. The level of services isn't nearly as vast as it was in New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I was shocked last year at the lack of services in Louisiana.
Mercy. Okay, so discuss the specific responsibilities you have in meeting the needs of individuals with disabilities.
Okay, like at the pre-K level, I can work with behavioral problems. I assist the ESE in writing the behavioral intervention plans and the functional behavioral assessments. I also work with the school-based team to develop interventions at the school level for level 2 and level 3 interventions in school. So that's mostly what I do. I'm available for counseling if I need to be available for counseling. I'm sure that at the middle school level, I will be able to do more counseling.
Okay. Describe your role in the IEP process if you have any specific role.
In the IEP process in Florida, I mainly just work with the ESE coordinator in writing my initial evaluation report. The ESE coordinator and I talk about what we believe the classification category would be. I explain all of my tests and procedures to the parents and provide the parents with a copy of the evaluation report.
Okay.
So we kind of work together as a team to determine what level of services we feel that the child needs, and what the classification category will be.
Oh, awesome. Explain when teachers should consult with you regarding the special education needs of their students.
They, as a school psychologist in a single school, I'm available to them before and after their classes are over. They can discuss any child with me. We talk about what kinds of strategies may or may not work, what they want to tell me in terms of what they're seeing in the classroom. So as long as you're open and accessible and available, the teachers will come to you, even if you're new.
Okay. Okay. So describe the role you think the school should have in early intervention, and include discussion about how you communicate that to the family and how you support the staff.
Right, and in this particular district, the early intervention is done outside of the school setting,
Okay.
and the early intervention team reaches out to the pre-K teams
Okay.
that are available in the district, and the pre-K teams do the initial assessment of the student. When that student is ready to leave pre-K and go to kindergarten is where I usually see them. So I don't do the early intervention.
Okay. Okay, so describe your experiences in working with students with disability by talking about the various disabilities you have encountered. Include in your discussion the characteristics, causes, prevalence, and prevalence of the types of disability you typically see in your practice.
All right, for the most part, the students that we see have learning disabilities
Okay.
in the areas of reading and math, for the most part. There are some who have some difficulty with written language. We also see students that have language delays, and often we work hand in hand with the speech therapist in assessing those children. The next most common characteristic that we see would be probably we're seeing more and more students with autism, and we're finding them at a younger age, and we're able to assess them and give them intervention almost from the time that they are born. So that's a very, very important role in the school at this time because of the increasing number of students with autism. We see students that have intellectual disabilities to a lesser degree than we used to, and I think that that is because we are able to differentiate our diagnosis a little bit better
Okay.
than back in the dark ages many years ago when I began my school psychology career.
Okay.
Things have changed. They evolve constantly.
Right.
Our terminology evolves, our testing evolves, and the classifications that we give students. At the elementary, middle school, high school level, the school psychologist will also see students who have, emotional problems,
Okay.
whether that is a behavioral problem or whether that is a mental health problem. We're finding lots and lots and lots and lots of students with attention deficit disorder. I think that would come right immediately after students with learning disabilities. And often the students with learning disabilities also have attention deficit disorder. So I think that we're catching students quicker. They're intervening to a greater degree in school. And we have a pretty good idea of what that student is capable of before I ever see them. I've had contact with the parents often and with the teachers very often.
Okay.
I at the intervention level. So even if I've never met the child, by the time they come to me, I kind of know who they are
Oh, okay. Awesome.
and what to look for.
Have you ever
I've worked in hospital setting
Oh, nice.
with traumatic brain injury
Oh.
and outpatients. So that was very, very interesting. I worked in an adolescent psychiatric facility for students that were placed there by the court system.
Oh, okay.
So these were mentally ill students who had been placed on, a non-voluntary level at a pure residential psychiatric facility. And I've worked at a couple of places that were for students with pretty severe disabilities, physical and cognitive disabilities. So I've had a kind of a broad range of experience.
Right. Have you ever had any experience with children with dyslexia?
Dyslexia?
Yeah.
In Louisiana and New Jersey, the dyslexia is usually under the purview of what we call an assessment teacher or a learning disability teacher consultant.
Okay.
In Florida, the psychologist is usually the person that diagnoses the dyslexia, but it's still not a category that is recognized as a disability that needs to be special ed in Florida. I don't know if I said that exactly correctly, but a lot of times the students with dyslexia can receive a 504 plan and have accommodations that are made for them in the classroom. They require a lot of specialized, particularly reading strategies.
Okay.
There are a couple of programs that are recognized nationally for students who do have dyslexia.
Okay. So, considering the students,
Cat is on my shoulder. I'm sorry, what?
considering the students with whom you have worked and the types of disabilities you typically see, describe the educational implications for students who exhibit characteristics of these disabilities.
Okay, with students who are autistic, the autism spectrum can range from very mild to very severe.
Right.
So the students that have very severe autistic characteristics will often be in a self-contained placement with speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy throughout the day. Often there will be a paraprofessional who helps with the behavior in the classroom. A lot of the students go to board certified behavior analysts after school to be seen to help their parents work on a lot of different things. Eating, dressing, bathing, those are for the very severe disabilities. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Ask me the question one more time so that I can make sure I know what you're asking.
It has another part to it. The part I asked you was considering the students with whom you have worked and the types of disabilities you typically see. Describe the educational implications for students who
All right, for students with learning disabilities, when I first started as a school psychologist many years ago, students with learning disabilities were often taken out of their classrooms and were educated in a very small setting for reading and math. And they've determined that, these kids should be with their classmates for the bulk of the day.
Okay.
And so we do more push-in services now than we do pull-out services. So you can have a kid that needs in-class support services throughout the day in subject areas like reading and math, and that's a big change from the way that it used to be. Also, students at a younger age, even students with Down syndrome or mild autism that's not disruptive to the classroom,
Right.
can be kept in the general ed classroom
Okay.
much longer than they used to be.
Okay.
So those are some pretty specific changes that have taken place.
So,
Students with ADHD do not necessarily, all receive medication. It's not something that we can or should necessarily recommend to the parent. We can help with the diagnosis and with the characteristics in the classroom and provide the teacher with some strategies, but we don't advocate for medication. That has to be something that comes from the parent and the pediatrician.
okay, so the other part of it is explain how you have worked with these students and what you have encouraged teachers to focus on when interacting with and teaching students with these types of disabilities.
Well, I mean, the range of students within any classroom is vast. You may have students who have been retained a year, and they'll be a year and sometimes 2 years older than the other students in the classroom. So it's really teach to what the child can do.
Okay.
Not everybody is just alike.
Right.
You're going to have kids that run the range of, disabilities or even giftedness in your classroom. So you can't, expect the same thing from every student. And I think that we have done a lot better with that over even the past 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
We differentiate instruction.
Right.
Not every student is expected to do exactly what every other student is.
Correct.
We don't do ability placement in a classroom, so you don't have like Group A, Group B, Group C anymore like they did when I was growing up.
Okay.
And you have it's very damaging to kids. So you have in a group of kids in a classroom, if they're doing group work, you may have a gifted kid, a couple of general education kids, and a kid or two with some problems, and they all help each other come to learn how to do things.
Right. Okay. Identify professional development opportunities related to special education that you believe would benefit staff in the school and our district.
Learning what to do in terms of child abuse. That's really important. Knowing how to recognize kids who are being abused in some way.
Okay.
Dealing with kids with mental health issues in the classroom, and being able to handle kids with attention deficit disorder. Those are very, very important things in a general ed classroom. Those would be very important. Recognizing mental health needs.
Right. Okay.
And we've really focused on that. I would say for the last 8 to 10 years, there's been a big focus on providing mental health services in an educational setting. So in Palm Beach County, each one of the schools has a guidance counselor. They have a behavioral intervention person, and many of them also have co-located therapists that work for an agency, but they're housed within the school.
Yeah.
So we have a lot more services. We have school psychologists for every one of the schools now.
Right.
We have 135 school psychologists in Palm Beach County.
Oh, nice.
And every school has services at some level.
Right.
We also have in Palm Beach County, we have a crisis intervention team that will come to your school if your staff is not sure about something.
Yes, I've seen
We
that.
have, the Crisis Assessment Review Team or CAPE team. we have that is headed. We just hired last year a woman from Broward County to come to Palm Beach County, and her focus is mental health.
Oh, okay.
And she's brought a lot of changes to Palm Beach County. She's brought the school psychologists are now under her purview
Okay.
instead of just the special education directors.
Oh yeah, I've seen that since the last school year too that there are a lot of mental health personnel since.
Yes, there are.
Oh,
They're doing a really, really good job
yes.
here in Florida. I think the referendum money may have been able to help them get some people with a lot of experience to come to Palm Beach County. I know that we have a lot of psychologists who used to work in Broward County, and even some who worked in Miami-Dade,
Okay.
who've moved to Palm Beach. They have a really good school district.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Describe what you do for professional development in terms of implementing interventions before starting the special education process.
Repeat that question for me, please.
Describe what you would do for professional development in terms of implementing intervention before starting the special education process.
Oh, yeah. Before the special education process even gets started, we meet as a school-based team. A teacher makes a referral. Mm-hmm. We look at all of their test scores. We look at their classroom behavior.
Awesome.
The teachers have already begun working with them in small groups.
Okay.
They do a lot of progress monitoring.
Oh, awesome.
They progress monitor everything.
Oh, nice.
They have a couple of computer programs that the students work on daily that tracks their progress. They have testing that begins in kindergarten to make sure that they are meeting certain progress indicators so that we know right away when a child is having difficulty. We don't wait until they're in the third grade necessarily. We don't wait until they fail a grade.
Oh, yeah, that's
We
good.
start interventions with them at a very young age and very quickly, just as soon as they realize they're not making progress.
Oh, awesome.
And the school-based teams meet every week. Some of them meet more than once a week, and it's usually for at least a half of the school day.
Okay.
And that team includes the behavioral interventionist, the guidance counselor, the school psychologist, the ESE coordinator, the principal, the vice principal. A lot of times the school-based resource officer attends those meetings as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
They take intervention very seriously
Right.
here.
Okay, I know this is my last question. I know there are times it's hard to get the parents on board, and sometimes those who are on board seems to get discouraged, especially in regards to their students' behavior. How do you tend to help them through the situation and make sure that they continue to be supportive to their students or their children?
You know, they're invited to every meeting that we have. We reach out to them by phone. We reach out to them by email. They have parent nights at the school. You know, report cards are sent home. Sometimes they have to come and pick the report cards up. So we make a lot of attempts to keep the parent informed and on board.
Okay, it's such a great opportunity to speak to you, Dr. Ammons, and you get me excited, and I'm inspired to continue to go through this master's program, and I hope by God's grace that I'll be able to finish, and I hope
think you
I'll get
will.
to meet you one day. You say you're
That would
at
be great.
Seminole Trails?
I was at Seminole Trails last year. I'm not going to be at Seminole Trails this year.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be at Palm Springs Elementary and
okay.
Tradewinds Middle School.
Okay,
But I
continue.
loved Seminole Trails. That
Yes.
was not my choice to be moved.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Well, I hope I get to meet you one day and continue to do your good job. And oh, you're great. The amount of experience you have, it's so much. It just makes you sound so. Oh, like I would just sit and listen to you all day.
It's that southern accent. That's what it is.
Once again, thank you very much, and I appreciate your help. Hello?
Hello?
Did you hear me?
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, Jesus. Wake up, Sister Art.